Hello, I'm Steve Moss, and I'd like to welcome you to The Joy of Music. Today's topic is Hiroshi Yoshimura, an obscure ambient musician who recently gained popularity through record collecting circles and the internet, as his albums have certainly went viral. I'm a big fan of Soundscape No. 1 myself, but the 1986 LP Green has brought many newcomers to his musical landscape. A favourite of the artist, and it was recorded over the winter of 1985 to 1986 at Yoshimura's home studio, using a Yamaha DX7, the first commercially successful synthesizer that used FM synthesis, which sounds like this. Its artificial glamour was a staple of the 80s, yet trying to capture a natural cycle with a DX7 sounds difficult, although not out of the question. Its customizability was second to none. Just look at Brian Eno, a master of manipulating synths to make ambient records, which also surround a location, giving an identity, certainly an influence on Yoshimura's approach, along with Eric Satie's furniture music, which left quite the impact when it came to the shores of Japan in the 60s. You can look up the Saatchi boom or the quiet boom of the 70s if you want to learn more. I describe his work as tranquility in chaos. I myself have spent many a day listening to all his albums while writing. Some may call it New Age music, which is an ill-defined term for a collection of soothing-style ambient music, centered around creating relaxation, optimism, and artistic inspiration. And that will be important later on. But Yoshimura himself identified his work as environmental music, or Kangyo Ongaku. After his first LP, he worked on many commissions, from museums, galleries, public spaces, TV shows, and cosmetic companies. You name it, he's done it. It was a different time in the 80s, let's say that. As Spencer Doran said, a big current within Japanese music in that era was escaping the city. A contrast between Japanese culture's naturalism versus this new expanding technocratic nation they became. In a time of massive growth, his LPs were quiet and small. And if you've ever seen footage from one of his live shows, it's interesting, let's say that much. But it does show how important setting a scene is for the artist. One could also see the rise of portable music as a component on why this environmental music became a successful niche. One expert connected the sound of this music to the concept of wabe-sabe, which is the beauty of imperfection. We don't make mistakes, we make happy accidents. The dents and bumps tell their own story in life. While simple, the world of Green is layered with texture, especially in the most popular upload, which uses a plethora of natural sounds over its minimalism. Its 8 tracks paint a tranquil picture of living. Let's put it that way. The first track, Creek, seems to show a stream trickling, birds chirp, a rapid tapping of percussion spiraling around a synth arpeggio like a spinning dandelion in the wind. The distant wails that draw you in and out. It's a musical tide of a song. There's a rhythm to each component as they take center fold. I Feel has a fluttering melody that soars around an ethereal plane. It burrows deep within your subconscious. The further we go into this walk, the more mindful you can become. Next comes up Sheep, which is oozing with relaxation, a floating synth lead as we orbit the rising soundscape. The percussion blinks in and out in a heightening pitch until we leave the stratosphere, as if it was a journey into dreams. Sleep involves twilight breaking. We find ourselves in a quiet field in the middle of a night. Crickets chirp, There are bassy tones that murmur, echoes reverb on a crystal lake. Really captures something peaceful. The self-titled track is like dawn. The melody rises from the horizon, reverbing strings grace the scene, wooden bassy tones merge with the melody. It's calm and simple, like waking up for the day. After that we have Feet, that starts with the raindrops next to its porcelain piano, almost like we're travelling through a dark cave and it's reaching out to these wallowing tones. As you trudge along, there's an element of loneliness there. A small piece of optimism does start to grow as we move through the track, like how a stream would slowly erode the stones. Street has the tide coming in, a whistling virtual flute. The keys patter a mellow melody. A harmony, you could say. The latter half of Green, it plays less with soundscapes and more moving into skeletal performances of musical ideas. This final conclusion can be seen in TV, which has its arpeggios next to twinkling pianos, with its wind flutes. Musical ideas unify. The sonic ideas we've seen throughout the whole piece are playing off each other, a quiet final as it fades out. Each song is subtle, breathing, as if it were alive, a harmony with everything around you as you listen and walk through. It's a solitude you can center yourself around for mindfulness. It's less about the individual songs than it is the overall journey of it. Now that was a nice painting session we just had. Green is the starting point for the rest of Yoshimura's albums, and I can see why it's one that's became so big. I remember seeing it recommended next to the other titans of YouTube Japanese music, probably about 4 years ago. Hey, look, it maybe even been mentioned in one of my videos right there. A little foreshadowing for you, huh? Yoshimura himself sums it up best in his liner notes for the first LP. I will be happy if when you enjoy this album, the surrounding scenery can be seen in a slightly different light. In the age of digital streaming, it's never been easier to find these pockets of Japanese music, and there's never been so much international demand. Through YouTube, his whole discography has grown hundreds of thousands of fans. So I'm happy to tell everyone that Light in the Attic are re-releasing Green through a sub-label called Watercopy, which they've made to share the music of the late New Age pioneer, who unfortunately did pass in 2003, so we never really got to share in this new international fame of himself. Green is already available on streaming services on several platforms, but finding a copy is an expensive toil. However, those who actually want one can now enjoy a physical release. Although the re-release does use the original master, which doesn't include the nature sounds which have become so infamous through the YouTube version. Although the original master was the preferred version of the creator himself, so I can respect that. Several other of his albums have gained re-releases over the last couple of years, if that be in Japan or the rest of the world. And I hope that more people can find his music in the future and enjoy it, especially for postcards. That one's pretty legit. Right, if there's a musical act you'd like me to shine a light on, you can write in the comments here, and the top comment will go back on the list. Or you could always request an artist through my Patreon. Right now there's also an exclusive Patreon video about Porco Rosso, which I can't unfortunately put on the channel for a couple more months. But all those who patron can have a look at it. Now I'd also like to thank the patrons that are making this channel possible right now, if that be Daniel Strait, Alex Moriarty, or Joven. And I hope you all have a lovely day, and come back to see more joy of music. Also, I hope you enjoyed looking at my burnt little nose for the whole of this video. I'm sure that was a fun experience for you. Anyway, peace out.